as he goes upstairs. No chance of south of the there. Julie got a winner right here. Down goes Jackson.
Welcome back to the world of boxing.
They had so well in the heavyweight ranks.
In today's video, we have part 3 of our series of the 25 best punches in the ring, looking at some of the most memorable punches in boxing history. If you like this video, please don't forget to punch the like button and subscribe to the channel.
They're telling him not to counterpunch.
Lucas Mathis is a knockout artist of the highest order. But it was the wiry, undefeated Victor Postal who scored a knockout win in the 10th round, earning the vacant WBC World Super Lightweight title in the process.
This holds up. Let me tell you something. That's a knockdown. We've got a count. And Visai is down.
It was a shocking sight to see Roy Jones Jr., one of the greatest boxers in the history of the sport, lying on the canvas, knocked out brutally by another opponent. It was cruiserweight Denis Lebedev who performed this feat against the fading Roy Jones Jr. Samuel Peter, the strong up-and-coming Nigerian heavyweight, had predicted a second-round knockout victory before this fight, and he lived up to it by knocking out Jeremy Williams with a vicious left hook to the head, while Williams' hands were down. After sharing the ring for a controversial 12-round battle in December 2016, Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora battled it out again 2 years later, with the Brixton man this time producing a clinical and conclusive finish. Dillian Whyte brutally knocked out Derek Chisora with a huge left hook. It's been almost 16 years since Ricky Hatton took on Floyd Mayweather in an attempt to be the first boxer to beat one of the greatest to ever lace up his gloves. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and Hatton, the nation's favorite fighter, felt cheated at his knockout defeat in the 2007 blockbuster Las Vegas bout. Halloween night, 1992 saw the beginning of a new era of heavyweight boxing, when Lennox Lewis knocked out Donovan Razor Ruddock in 2 rounds to secure his first shot at the WBC title. Despite being the British, Commonwealth, and European champion, Lewis was the underdog going into the fight with Ruddock, who had shared the ring with Mike Tyson twice and held the #1 ranking with the WBC. Ruddock had the experience, but the #2 ranked Lewis defeated Ruddock by a second-round knockout. Stephen Smith was an outsider who lured his forward-pressing opponent, Gary Buckland, into a corner in round 5. Stephen dipped his right shoulder like a center, forward moving on his marker, and delivered a right uppercut inside of Buckland's left jab, knocking him out. It's sometimes harder to remember things from recent history than it is to remember things from yesteryear. And that's arguably the case with the 2007 upset of the year that saw Nonito Donaire stopping the previously unbeaten 31-year-old Vic Darchinyan.
Struggling to get to his feet. In terrible shape. It's all over. It's all over. Nonito Donaire has pulled it up.
On June 19, 1936, Young, strong-punching Joe Lewis takes on Max Schmeling. The referee was the legendary Arthur Donovan, and the stadium seats were sold out. The bout was scheduled for 15 rounds. Schmeling had studied Lewis and had noticed flaws in the American's technique, particularly the way after throwing his left hand, he briefly dropped it low, leaving his chin exposed to Schmeling's powerful right hand. Schmeling exploited that mistake mercilessly, beating Lewis for 12 rounds until finally knocking him out and handing him his first defeat. On November 17, 2001, Don King and Main Events promoted this highly anticipated heavyweight title rematch. Lennox Lewis against Rahman. Lewis was still the betting favorite, even as the challenger. Unlike the previous fight between the two, Lewis came into the fight prepared and dominated the duration of the fight. In the fourth round, Lewis connected with a left-right combination that sent Rahman crashing to the mat. On May 2016, Murat Gassiev meets one-loss Jordan Schimmel for a 12-round IBF Cruiserweight Eliminator in the main event of FS1. Gassiev scored a devastating one-punch knockout win over Schimmel. Tommy Morrison scored a number of quick knockouts in his boxing career. His knockout of Harry Tyrell is one of the most visually impressive ones. While Morrison possessed one of the greatest left hooks of all time, in this bout, it was a devastating right hand which crumbled his opponent to the canvas. Before the bout, Harry Tyrell had stated that he had come here to fight. And while it lasted, he tried. Unfortunately for Tyrell, Morrison's colossal power changed the bout in an instant.
38 years may come into play in a hurry at 227 pounds.
The former two-division title holder, Mickey Garcia, brutally knocked out Dejan Zlatkonin in the third round to become a title holder in the third weight class. Knockouts sell more than anything in boxing, and this was a KO of the highest order. For all intents and purposes, Roy Jones' career as an elite fighter, the finest of his generation, came to a catastrophic conclusion in this fight, with Roy getting brutally KO'd by a right hand from Glenn Johnson in the 9th round that left him unconscious on the canvas for several minutes. When you're on top of the world, you only have one way to go, and that is down. Boxing's ultimate underdog, James Buster Douglas, entered the ring to defend his newly won undisputed heavyweight championship of the world against Evander Holyfield in 1990.
Cruiserweight champion and has moved ahead so well in the heavyweight ranks.
In the third round, Holyfield counters with an uppercut with a perfectly timed right cross that puts Douglas down and out, and Evander becomes the heavyweight champion for the first time.
The kind of a punch that we would expect him to knock Buster Douglas out with. But remember, in that first and second round, he was finding the range for this right. You'll see a lazy left jab by Buster Douglas. Then we'll see.
Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks was a boxing match which took place on Monday, June 27, 1988. Both men were undefeated, and each had a claim to being the legitimate heavyweight champion. At the time, Tyson held the belts of all three of the major sanctioning organizations, while Spinks was the ring champion and was considered the lineal champion.
Professional fight. And he's down again.
Tyson won the fight, knocking out Spinks in 91 seconds.
7, 8. He's not going to make it. It's all over.
Undefeated WBO super middleweight champion Joe Calzaghe suffers the first knockdown of his career before coming back to stop the former title holder Byron Mitchell in the 13th defense of his belt.
Here's Mitchell. He can punch. Calzaghe's in big trouble, and he's not boxing. Mitchell, Mitchell goes down. Calzaghe's throwing and missing a lot of punches, though. He has to be careful. It's over. Paris has stopped the fight near the end of round 2. As Mitchell bounced off the ropes, he says he's seen it.
In May 1993, Julian Jackson made his 5th defense of his WBC middleweight title. His opponent is Gerald McClellan, who at the time was rising through the ranks.
There it is, a big right hand. McClellan's waiting.
As he goes upstairs, no chance of South there. Julian gonna win it right here. Down goes Jackson.
Gerald knocked out Julian in this fight, which won the Ring Magazine's Knockout of the Year in 1993.
And down is Jackson.
And the new WBC middleweight champion of the world, the G-Man, Gerald McClellan.
In July 2014, Gennady Golovkin defends his titles against the tough Australian boxer and former world title holder Daniel Giel. In the second round, Gennady knocked down Giel with his right hand for the second time in the match. Daniel got to his feet but couldn't find his strength, and referee Mike Ortega wisely called an end to the fight. The Ring Magazine's Fight of the Year in 1990 produced fireworks. It's a truly memorable, controversial, dramatic, and fantastic fight. Julio Cesar Chavez stopped Meldrick Taylor in the final seconds of the 12th and final round. It's hard to believe it's been 21 years since Kostya Tszyu unified the 140-pound division with Zab Judah in Las Vegas. The fight itself was very short, but it produced a knockout that would be a meme material for eternity had it occurred in the social media era. Tszyu flattened the then unbeaten Judah with a right hand in the closing seconds of round 2, but the fun has only just begun. In April 2017, Srisaket Soarung Visai produced a sensational 4th-round stoppage of Roman Gonzalez to retain his WBC Super Flyweight World title.
Very spectacular performance by a young man who may have just grown into the championship he won unexpectedly in New York.
On February 25, 1964, a young Muhammad Ali took on the world heavyweight champion Sonny Liston. A 7-1 underdog, Ali shocked the world when Liston's corner threw in the towel at the beginning of the 7th round. A year later, the champ Muhammad Ali gave Liston a shot to avenge his loss. What happened next is one of the most controversial moments in boxing history. Ali knocked down Liston in the first round with what is now known as the Phantom Punch. It was a night that changed the history of heavyweight boxing. On that night, Iron Mike suffered his first professional boxing defeat. The then undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion was knocked out by the 42-1 underdog Buster Douglas. This fight is still widely regarded as one of the biggest upsets in boxing history.
It's over. It's over.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
Unbelievable.
On October 1974, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman squared off in one of the most legendary bouts in boxing history, famously known as the Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman, the younger and stronger of the two, walked into the ring in Zaire as the heavyweight champion of the world, but didn't walk out the same way as Ali shocked the world to win the title for a second time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And stay tuned for new episodes about the legends of the past.